Hey guys, it's Infinity here. Today's video is going to be a very highly requested video. The most common thing that people ask me about VIDEOSTAR and editing is custom graphs. People ask me what they are and how to use them. So today I'm going to explain to you how custom graphs work and how to use them. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to me on YouTube. It's right here, you're watching the video. Like the video if you found it helpful. And follow me on Instagram, which is Infinity, spelled the same way as my YouTube channel name. Now, according to what I've seen, new editors have trouble grasping how the custom graphs work and what different shapes do. Now, I'm a full believer that custom graphs are something you need to figure out through practice and trial and error, but I do understand how this can be hard to do if you don't understand the interface at all, so today I'm going to teach you how custom graphs work. Also, just to note, I think you should first know how to edit in VIDEOSTAR without custom graphs before tackling custom graphs. Know the basics first. So, open up multilayer. When you make your transition normally, so you go to the beginning, have it at 0. Today we'll be doing a simple zoom. So go to the end and zoom in. This beginning where it's 0 is the beginning of the transition. The end where you have it zoomed in to 127, that is the end of the transition. The amount you have it at the beginning, so if it's smaller than 100 or bigger than 100, whatever that is, for me it's 100, that is the beginning value. And then at the end, whatever value it is, whether it's smaller than 100, greater than 100, for me it's 127, that's the ending value. So usually what you would do if you're not using custom graphs is you would click this button and then click this for a transition. But if you use custom graphs, it'll be a lot smoother. So in order to access custom graphs, just click custom. And now, here is where we get into the math. Don't worry, it's not hard math. It's simple math, I promise. There are no numbers involved, just graphs. Cool? Cool. The graphing tool in VIDEOSTAR is structured similarly to a distance over time graph, like you would use in math or physics, except instead of distance over time, it's the intensity of the transition over the course of the transition. So as we talked about earlier, with the starting value and the ending value, in the graph, the y-axis is the intensity of the transition, or the value of the transition. So the bottom is the starting value, like we talked about earlier, and the top is the ending value, like we talked about earlier. The x-axis is the length of the transition. The left is when the transition starts, and the right is when the transition ends. These two are both fixed values. As you can tell, you can't move the intensity of the transition at the end, and you can't move the intensity of the transition at the start. In order to move those, you have to exit the custom graph editor and then edit it here. Now, in order to start editing the custom graph and moving it around, press the control point. You can start moving around, and as you can see, the graph moves with it. Now, you'll see this button where it says straight. If you check it, as you can see, it'll have a straight line right before the dot. So here, there's a straight line. Now you're going to uncheck it because we're not straight. Right now, we should talk about what shapes are the smoothest and why. So, there's more math coming up. So, the greater the slope, or the more steep the slope is, the faster it will be. What that means is the steeper it is, so for example, if we check this if we take the straight button, it'll be a lot easier to tell when it's steep or not. So as you can see here, it is not very steep. But if you do it like this, if you do this right here, that is very steep, okay? When a transition is starting, on an in transition, you want it to start slow, aka not very steep, and to end quickly, aka steep. So you can add a few control points. I usually like to do either 3 or 4. And then move the one rightmost to make the end very steep. And now the beginning, you want it to be not very steep. So as you can see, I'm just editing the graph to make it so at the beginning it isn't steep and at the end it is steep. And you don't want there to be a harsh change in between when it's steep or not steep. So that's why I do 4 different control points, because if I only did 1, or if, let's say I did 2. Let's say I removed these 2 control points, only used these 2. As you can see, it's like not steep at all, not steep, bam, it's steep. And that can look good in some styles, but it's not, I personally do not think that that looks good. So I go for 4 control points, 3 or 4, and then I use the control points to ease it in and out. So to ease it from being steep to not steep, or in this case, not steep to steep. So this is the in transition. The in transition, you want it to start out not steep, then end up steep. As you can tell, it starts out slow, and then it becomes steeper at the end. This will make your transition smoother. Now just add motion blur, or tracking blur. I've been using After Effects for like 2 weeks, and now I even forgot what tracking blur is. Wow. Then click create, and now we can work on the end of the transition. So this is my second clip. Click new and multi-layer again. And import the clip, mirror it. Now you want to make the new transition, so go to the end, press the arrow button, go back to the beginning, zoom it out, and as you can see again, this isn't smooth. So if we did this like we usually did, it wouldn't be as smooth as we can make it. Because if you look at it, it doesn't start out that steep, and there's a pretty harsh change from the steepness to the not steepness. That's why you make a custom graph, because the curves that they have pre-made aren't very good. So this time, again, you want to do practically the same thing, except instead of starting not steep, you have to start steep and end not very steep, because you want it to start quickly and then end slowly. So when your transition happens, it starts slow and then it speeds up and then goes to the other photo and then slows down. I don't know if that made any sense, but basically, if you start your transition slowly and then you end it slowly, aka in the first clip it starts slowly and ends quickly, and in the second clip it starts quickly and ends slowly, it will be a lot smoother than if you didn't do this. A lot smoother. So once you're happy with how your custom graph looks, you can play this to see how it looks. You can add tracking blur, edit it how you want it to be, create, done. And then you have finished your custom graphs. Oh my god, graphs on After Effects are so much easier. So yeah, I hope this video helped you. Again, subscribe, like, Follow me on Instagram. Yeah, thank you for watching.